Hello everyone and welcome to a special Season 12 ranked game. This is a replay highlight. I was playing this particular game off stream and it was pretty epic, and I figured I need to make a coverage of this. So I'm not entirely sure how good the carry replay system is. And we'll just check how it goes. So if you're unfamiliar with Season 12, it is all tier 10s, and aircraft carriers are allowed. So here we go. I am playing the Hakuryu because I value the armor-piercing dive bombers and their ability to do massive alpha strike. The rocket planes in this particular instance, because there are no destroyers, are just to do a quick scout of the enemy team, where they're going, what they're doing. And we see that the enemy Hakuryu has launched fighter planes, and that's more of a spot denial rather than to actually stop me, because it's forcing me to just kind of slightly move around, and I did the exact same thing. Worcesters you spot at AA range, which is really sucks. I mean, the reason that the meta has no destroyers is because a fighter planes like I'm using right now can instantly spot a destroyer if you have some idea where someone might go, and the roll rocket planes you just saw there, they just devastate DDs, even with all the nerfs. And then with the spotting, everyone else shoots at the DD, and then with all the cruisers that have radar, it's a very, very hostile environment for someone to play destroyer. So you'll find that in the higher brackets, or the lower brackets, whatever you want to call it, the more advanced brackets, put it that way, people don't play destroyers. So it's very cruiser heavy, sometimes BB and cruiser heavy. And with that in mind, we can see what the enemy disposition is, and I'm just sort of flying around doing some spotting, deciding what I want to do, because a Des Moines is no joke with the defensive fire. A Worcester is incredibly serious AA. You can't bomb it. You just cannot bomb a Worcester or a Minotaur without taking incredibly heavy plane losses, and this might go a long game. We have a Hindenburg, he's a little bit more squishy, and a Zhao is squishy as well. All of them are technically vulnerable to AP bombing, and you get citadels, but it won't one-shot them, as in the past of real-time strategy carriers and the Midway's armor-piercing bombers in the past. But it's still very effective. So, right now, our entire team agreed all to go to A. However, our Minotaur and our Kurfürst have gone to Bravo. Not the greatest, but you can see how the enemy team has split and gone for A, with one or two, the Worcester going down to Bravo. No big deal. What has got me surprised, actually, which I didn't notice at the time when playing this, was that the enemy Minotaur is pushing really aggressive into Alpha. However, I noticed the torpedo bombers and I'm pinging the map. Oh look, there's incoming torpedo bombers because the enemy Haku is looking for someone to attack. He can't go for the Henry, Zhao, Des Moines, Salem because it's too much clustered AA, but a lone Kurfürst? He's spotting the Kurfürst, and by spotting the Kurfürst, he gets his own strikes in, and I've put my own summon fighters, but that's a problem in their own regard. And as you can see, the Kurfürst is getting marginally farmed here by the Worcester, and anyone else that can shoot him, because he's an easy target. We don't really see their Conqueror, and plus he's way too far away. Spotted Zhao, and I go, oh, hello. Not only has the enemy team's Minotaur pushed too aggressive into Alpha, their Zhao has now pushed into Bravo, and I have armor-piercing dive bombers, 2 waves, so this is great. I've got 2 ships nearby, so I F3 ping the Zhao saying, hey, shoot this guy, and then I start an armor-piercing bomb drop, and we get a Citadel. Great. And the thing that makes Citadel damage better than, for example, say a Midway, is that it's health that cannot be regenerated. Now, just before I died, I summoned a fighter, as you see in the minimap, and that is to keep the Zhao spotted. Now, when I'm using armor-piercing dive bombers, case in point, this particular plane, you don't actually get to see all the details about it, but ultimately, you have 4 waves of 3. But you, case in point, against that one Zhao, who's now just died, so that's great, we're 2 up. We now have 3 waves of 3, but I'm going to pre-drop twice, so I'm down to just 2 waves of 3, and that's because you honestly cannot attack more than once. Passive AA is so high in this particular environment that you can't attack more than twice, so you have just 2 waves, and you attack enemy ships. There's no point taking unnecessary plane losses for attacks you'll never get done. So at Des Moines, it's stationary, he's reversing, he's at 5.6 kilometers, I'm going to rush in. The enemy has summoned fighters, but that shouldn't be a problem because he's not only at 3 kilometers. I'm just going to zoom in. Oh, but wait, is that a defensive fire? Is that some AA? Boom, all the planes die. That wasn't fighters. That was just anti-air. However, had I had 12 dive bombers there, everything would have died. That's just shocking. So we lose our first ship, unfortunately, but we should kill off their Des Moines, which means great. They're down 3 ships. Now, as I'm saying, pre-dropping is very important because if you want to endure the whole battle, you need to kind of pre-drop your planes, and then because there's no point in having additional waves. And then this is very important because it means it allows you to last the whole duration. In terms of what's going on right now, well, we have advantage. We got 1 cap. Now we have the curve first. The curve first, going for Bravo. I'm saying we have both caps. We don't really need to push. We've got a healthy point lead. We've got a healthy ship lead. But that doesn't stop our Salem pushing and getting bombed. And the enemy CV did take some damage, but now he's doing particularly well. Now in this instance, my mental thought is, I can't touch the Conqueror because he's with a Worcester. I am next to the Hakuryu, I'm spotting the Hakuryu, but no one's really going to shoot him. Our team is still fairly spread out. The curve first doesn't have the Minotaur backup, so he's going to be shot and bombed by the enemy Conch, who's a rental but doing quite well. In my mentality, I'm thinking, okay, there's a lone Hindenburg. I could probably go after the lone Hindenburg. That could work. Because he can still be Citadel bombed. But while this is going on, there are, although the replay doesn't show it, there are limited number of summon fighter charges. So I can't summon fighters a great deal. So the enemy Salem, our friendly Salem, there you go, another Citadel, is being bombed by the Hakuryu, because the enemy Hakuryu is thinking, oh look, there's a Salem on 5000, I can bomb that, or I can spot it. Or the enemy Hakuryu is thinking, oh look, there's a Zhao with the Henry, they might not have the greatest AA at this particular point, I'm going to AP bomb the Zhao because he can be quite squishy. Now, the other problem is that our Minotaur is stuck. We've got the team split into 2 groups of 2, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, hang on a minute, I thought we were winning this. Now it seems to be quite sketchy because the health pools are not great. The Zhao is down to 6000. The Minotaur is in smoke with the Salem at Bravo, and I see that, okay, there's a Conqueror here, there's a Worcester here. Worcester isn't very friendly to carrier. Yes, I'm very powerful, but the Worcester still kind of locks me out, especially if they're together. The combined AA will just kill everything. Now we don't have we don't have dive bombers anymore because we're waiting for their current planes to return. So we have torpedo bombers. Now torpedo bombers are 6 groups of 2. Well, you don't need 6 groups of 2. So you want 3 groups of 2 because, case in point, we're going to lose them all to the Worcester. We're never going to get 6 attack runs, and we'll get 3 at best, and probably only 2 if we're lucky, because we have the health regeneration, and health regeneration lets us do attack. If you're asking me why we don't use the groups of 4 instead of the groups of 2, that's primarily because the torpedo speed is 55 knots as opposed to 40 knots. So it's much easier to guarantee twin hits. And in this instance, the Conqueror has tagged the Worcester, bumped him, slowed him down. So I'm going to zoom in. And I've told everyone, hey, attack the Worcester. He's far more dangerous than the Conqueror is, because I can farm the Conqueror later. And positioning wasn't great. Got a chip in. All of this damage, I simply can't turn in time to get another runoff. And if I tried to fly away, I'd be so wounded that the planes wouldn't be able to do another attack run on the Worcester. So I'm really sure I just recalled them. But that's kind of why I pre-dropped earlier, because otherwise I would have lost more planes. So here we are thinking, oh, okay, it's 4 against 3 again. You know, we've got 1 cap. The Salem doesn't need to pressure. He can, like, back off. And there's only a Conqueror BB, and I'm now going to pre-drop with my torpedo bombers before I go after the Conqueror. And there's an enemy Hindenburg and a wounded Hakuryu. Great, right? Well, not really. The enemy CV is doing a good job of spotting the Salem, and I try and put down some valuable fighters, but he's super wounded. Conqueror's at full health and has a lot of heals, because our BB just simply got farmed. Some of the constraints of the Japanese torpedo bombers is that while your first run can be accurate, the problem is under AA fire, it takes an incredibly long time for the torpedo bomber reticle to tighten up. So he's aware of these TVs, and I think he's already in a turn, so it's going to make it quite difficult for me to get 2 torps, but I can guarantee 1. But now the hostile CV is starting to realize what I'm playing at and is putting down summon fighters to protect. And those will probably tag and kill me off. Our Henry has a healthy 27,000 health. He can back off, but the problem is that our two ships are super isolated. We've got a Zal way up in the north, and we've got a Henry way down in the south. It's free food for the enemy Haku. I can go for the Hindenburg, but the Hindenburg's pretty healthy, and he isn't really a great threat at this particular moment, and it'd be quite difficult to constantly AP bomb him and to finish him off, because he can heal that up. Whereas the Conqueror right now is far more of a threat, because he can heal up, he can regenerate, plus he's got all this firepower, and he's close to the cap, although in this particular instance he's chasing after the Henry. Now, I don't have on-summon fighters anymore for these torpedo bombers. Oh, and actually I do, I have one left, and this is what I'm trying to do, because these are armor-piercing dive bombers that are going for the Henry. He's on 15,000 health. It's more that the fact they're spotting him. So I'm going to zoom up as best I can and pop a fighter. But this is the annoying thing about fighter planes, is that A, when I do defensive play, I can't actually stop enemy planes, and then B, it doesn't really do anything. And then I have to chase after with my bombers to play defensive. So I see that, okay, he's wounded, he's down to 13k, but he's got an on-summon fighter plane. I'm going to stay at the edge of his AA, I'm going to pre-drop once or twice before I go in for him again, and I'm like, alright, you know what? He's healing. Crap. Now he's just, what just happened to the Conqueror? Now while this is going on, my carrier, I autopiloted to hide between the islands. And look at that. The enemy Hindenburg is dead. I totally didn't see that. So the Zal must have gotten rid of the Hindenburg. That's great. Oh, it's 3 versus 2 now. You know, okay, we lost the ship earlier, but now we have a Henry. Okay, you know what? He is kind of on 10,000 health now. And he's sending rocket planes. But I don't have any unsummon fighter planes anymore to deal with the rocket planes. And you see in the minimap, the rocket planes are skirting around my fighters, and the Henry's obviously running away. And the Conqueror is trying to push the Henry because he wants to kill. I mean, point-wise, it's more about killing us all than it is winning for them. And he sees my torpedo planes, so he turns in. And that was a sacrificial charge, because the fighter planes are now being lured away with the return. That wasn't the intention, but it was more about trying to get ahead. But because the Conqueror turned in, it's very difficult with any set of torpedo bombers with only a single wave to hit targets. Now, because I don't have torpedo bombers already at the moment, I'm just going to go back to rocket planes. In fact, the rocket planes were chosen because I thought, I've got fighter planes, summon fighter planes that is, on the rocket planes. I could go to the Henry, but then I just realized, you know what? He's too far away, he's on 3,000 health. By the time I fly to him, summon the planes, and then the time it takes for the planes to then engage, he's already dead. Case in point, he just died. So I'm going to go after the Conqueror instead. Try and, I mean, that's a good chunk of damage at 7,000. Try and whittle down the Conqueror. Because he's the last real threat. However, while this is all going on, I am telling the Zal, stay next to me, stay with me, because I have AA, I've got on-summon fighter planes, and he's sending AP bombers, because the Zal is really fragile to armor-piercing bombers, and I'm telling him, whoa, stay away from him in the chat. Don't go close to engage. We are winning by a healthy margin. Why would you threaten that to go for the attack? And I know the Conqueror's moving up, so I tell my ship to kind of angle and move away. The Conqueror isn't happy because he says, oh look, CVs can run out of planes. He thought, well, they do if I was attacking conventionally, but I'm being really conservative of when I attack and how I choose to attack, plus I'm pre-dropping planes, which means I take fewer losses. You know, I'm only taking half losses here. And see, I'm already pre-dropping torpedo bombers because I know I'm not going to get more than 3 attack runs in. And I'll pre-drop to a certain extent that allows me to, before, I won't pre-drop constantly until I'm ready to attack. If there's an opportunity to attack, I'll go for it and use the islands, go over and tap them. You see these torpedoes are actually fairly quick, so even as he makes his turn, I should be able to get both torps to connect. But this is quite a bit of flack, coming from a little bit from the Haku and a little bit from the Conqueror. I think I've used the heal on the torpedo bombers, which allow me a second attack, but the Conqueror just keeps regenerating that health. And I'm telling this out, you need to stay hidden, stay at line of sight as best you can. You don't need to, oh, this is a shot on me. And this isn't the greatest angle of torpedo bombers because he's already nose in. It's the best things to come from a rear approach angle, but the Hakuryu is now really close to the Conqueror giving assistance, and I can't really be next to the Zal right now, because if the Conqueror comes around the corner, yeah, sure, the Zal might be able to torp him, but it's more of an issue that will get blapped. So I'd rather keep my distance and run away. Maybe that's a mistake on my part, I don't know. But we can see that the enemy Haku is out of armor-piercing dive bomber, so he's now trying to torpedo bomb our Zal. I think we are... Yes, I've F-recalled and I've got rocket planes, because the rocket planes are the only planes now I have on-summon fire planes. So I'm going to zoom over to the Zal as best I can. And that's an engine boost I've just activated. And I'm thinking, okay, this game's getting a bit desperate. I need to get over here, because the Zal takes a torp in the backside. And I'm like, ugh. And while this is going on, I'm getting attacked. And I recall the fire planes, because like, alright, I don't need you anymore. I need to damage the Conqueror. And then he's now torping me because I'm partially wounded, because he can't go back for the Zal. Okay, so I try and tell the autopilot to make a turn, but nah, it's too late. I'm too fat. So I'm now half health with a little bit of flooding. Our Zal is on 5k with a full wave of dive bombers incoming. No more fighters in chat. I'm thinking, I'm sorry, Zal, I can't help you. I'd love to, but I can't. I don't have any more summon consumables because the game has gone long, and I've got only realistically torpedo bombers, because armor-piercing dive bombs don't work on the Conqueror. It's one of the few ships that armor-piercing bombs don't work on the Conqueror. So, but he is somewhat wounded, and I'm like, oh, okay, we can do this. He's 11,000. He's finally vulnerable. So over the island, don't give his AA a chance to attack. He's making the turn. Oh wait. He's up to 23,000 now? What's going on here? Because it's another heal. But, okay, he's down to 12,000. But we've lost our Zal for the AP bombs, because we couldn't do anything else. We have to kill the Conqueror, which is why we're making the choice to use torpedo bombers. Now, I could have gone more left and round the flank here, and I probably should have. It's just I'm constantly taking chip damage, and I'm trying to just tap him as best I can. And I'm like, okay, he's 6,000. One more attack. But I'm very aware I'm on 17,000 damage. And also, if you look at my CV in the top left-hand corner, you'll see that I'm being attacked by torpedo bombers. So I'm going to make a very rushed drop here. He's turning left, so I think I've got him. Return to my ship. Oh, it's interesting. The replay doesn't show carrier. Well, I am maneuvering. You see that single red torpedo? That's a dodge. So I've only taken one torp, not two. So I'm on 6,000 health. And the enemy carrier has approximately 1 minute and 50 seconds. Here we go. The enemy carrier has 1 minute and 50 seconds to kill me. Because we win, we get 1,000 points in a minute 40, right? Can I kill the enemy Haku? Maybe. I can maybe armor piercing, but the thing is, it's all about summon fighters and whether they're despawned. And so right now, I'm on the border and I'm rotating around, and I want to go along south and then keep my AA focused on the left. But I see he's got rocket planes incoming. Can't do anything about that. Oh, he still has on-summon fires. I have no on-summon fires left for any of my planes. I've got my passive summon fighter, which is great, and that's going to be helpful. But rocket planes against the armor flight deck of the Hakuryu, I might actually survive this. Because I'm quite close to the edge as I'm turning around, it might cause a little bit of grief for him to do a second attack, and we'll see he's coming in for a rocket strike. We're on 6,400, 4,100, okay. There is his CV, but he's got his own on-summon fire plane. And they're vicious. Case in point, mine are just ripping me apart. Okay, I only need to live 40 seconds. This is fine. This is fine, I said. And this is the entire sacrificial wave. I won't be able to... Oh, it's actually dive bombers. I do apologize. It's not torpedo bombers. And this is me trying to drop him, but I've been tagged by fighters. I do get some ricochets. It's not the greatest of drops in the world, mainly because I was rushed and I was kind of running back as quickly as possible. But while this is ongoing, I'm like, okay, I can't really kill him. And then I was like, oh, but wait, he's in the cap. Oh no, so it's not like, it wasn't like 40 seconds or something until the win. No, it was, now we have to run at the game clock because we've got the point advantage, but I now need to live 45 seconds. And he's sending in torpedo bombers. And that's a couple of strikes. So instantly, I abandon my own attack and go back and control my hull. So I'm turning in desperately as much as I can, to dodge the incoming torpedoes. So there's twin torps. Oh, thread the eye of the needle. Okay, good. He's got 22 seconds to go. He's got one last strike. I'm like, This is so panicky because I'm so fat and immaneuverable that it could kill me at any moment. Here come the torpedoes. And what you can't see right now is I've overturned because the rudder shift is too slow. This torpedo will hit me. This one will hit me. I'm going to die. I'm going to... The game clock ends. And that's it. Yeah. So that's the replay. It was pretty crazy in terms of the game itself. It was just supposed to be like a low stress, chill out game. Everything would be fine, you know. But no. That was so tense. But it also shows you the roulette nature of teammates in ranked, which everyone's aware of. The meta that's currently no destroyer matter of many cruisers. Cruisers themselves have pretty tremendous anti-air. Ships that go against a certain meta, like if I had a midway, I'm sure high explosive spamming on the Conqueror would have done better, and the AP bombs don't really work on the Conqueror. So perhaps if you want to play particular ships, you play natural counters like a Hakuryu, because I think the Hakuryu will be the natural pick for the CV, but we'll see how time goes with that. And then also just how the consumables nature is, you can't really preserve your consumables because you have to use them early on because that's when the fighting's happening. It's not like where you can preserve planes, and with the preservation of planes you can continue to play later on. The consumables are just consumables, so you can't use unsummon fire planes. And then how certain teammates spread out. I mean, I know this is kind of cliche, but in King of the Sea, you have to stay together. You have to stay in pairs, or you have to stay as one group. Otherwise, you will be systematically picked off. And even for all that Conqueror's resilience and ability to regenerate, I was able to slowly chunk him down. But that was a close game. Almost got bombed. And you know what? In a game where it's a carry game, and then the enemy team is nothing but massively hostile anti-air, it's possibly worth considering going after the enemy CV. I mean, with enough perseverance, you can harass the CV and maybe kill him. Case in point, could have happened to me. I might myself have gone after the enemy CV sooner and solved some of the problems. But I felt at the time it was more important to scout the enemy team so that my own guys could see them, and then also try and stop them from killing my guys off. Anyway, that's the end of this replay. I hope it has been fun and informative for you with the limited replay system, and until next time, we'll see you later. Goodbye.